let's just do it. Oh shit! What's the brand? Uh, the, the fat controller's not here.
Which?
Welcome to Game of Nodes, a weekly podcast on the cosmos from independent validator teams. See, anyone can do it.
I'm glad you did, because the other three of us don't actually know the words. So
I do. I used to do it.
I can leave now, right?
yeah,
That's my job done.
There you go.
I was wondering if there'd be a moment of, and this is your host, Bendy from the chat. I'm like,
well, no, I'm Ben Davis from the chat.
Ben Davis. Oh, so hi, Bendy. I don't believe we've met. I didn't even say
Really?
hi in the fucking pre-show shit there. Well, not we haven't spoken in IRL. Well, this isn't IRL, but in person.
Yeah.
I don't believe anyway. I could be wrong. I've got a terrible fucking memory.
I think we crossed paths on a space for about 5 minutes once.
Oh, but I wasn't looking at you, so that doesn't even
exactly. It was like radio, right? It doesn't count.
Yeah. Well, cool. Welcome again to the
thank you very much
with some of the regulars here. It's because have you been on the show with any of us before, or is it just the stand-ins show?
It was the alternative Game of Nodes, really, with Rama standing in for Null and Funky playing the role of Schultzy, and then Joe, I guess, would have been was usurper, but then he just left, and then Jake obviously did his thing and shilled Dowdow. Probably the best, other than the one where we were when Juno was coming back to life, right? That mammoth one.
Still, our most watched episode is people watching the invariant checks go by on the screen while we all sat there and said, when the fuck is this going to end?
That's what Neutron's launch reminded me of.
What, to stand there watching it go by?
The vote power, just like it's nearly there. Definitely going to be there soon. It's going to happen very soon. Then you just wait forever.
I remember that with, I forget, somebody else launched. It took forever way back in the day to launch. It was Evmos or something before, maybe on the restart. I remember it would be like, it would slowly grow. It would slowly grow like 37%, 38. And then somebody would drop out 37, 36. like fuck, I'd be here all day.
Now, before we get too far down the line, I should point out that the Fray has left us with the drill tweet of the week for the Podo.
Oh, he did. He sent us a random.
Wait, hold on a second. You're the most critical person of the drill of the week, and you're over here like, hold on, we need to pause because this is really important.
He's turning around on it.
Hold up.
Wait, you guys shut the fuck up for a second.
I believe this is... Yeah, it says for tomorrow, and then there's a drill tweet.
He DM'd it to me, so I can. I hadn't assumed that we would do something that was like on the agenda within the first 5 minutes of the show. That's crazy, right?
That is crazy. It's dumb.
Well, I mean, no one really likes this segment, so maybe it's good to get it out of the way.
That's right.
Nobody likes it, so let's do it first.
Yeah,
makes sense.
It's like the starting act kind of deal.
Okay, so in my stand-in for Frey, shall I?
Please.
Yeah, you'll have to do it. But just to be fair, like usually the Frey comes on, dribbles a bunch of bullshit no one wants to hear, and then says the drill tweet, which no one also wants to hear, and then we actually talk about something. So
last week he just bulldozed you into it too. He bulldozed right over you last week with it too, because you were trying to bring up something else, and he just kept going with the drill tweet. I had to go back and listen to it because you just kept going, and it just never. That's it. It was all over.
Yeah.
yeah. Go check it out. Episode 64.
Beaten down, man.
All right. I've never had a drill tweet read not in an English accent, so I think we should keep that going.
Okay.
Right, because it's just not the same coming from. I think it has more nobility to it. I think maybe.
Yeah, it sounds more important when other people say it.
Yeah,
it sounds less like trash.
Yeah.
I mean, it definitely will sound fairly trashy. I'll give it a go. I will be hung by my ankles and displayed at the zoo until I can prove to the sheriff and city hall that I have centered myself with Christ.
That's the one he picked.
That's what he sent me.
Segment.
I mean,
I just always feel like after the drill tweet, I just have to like bask in it to let it really sink in and like come to its full term.
I feel like they have higher meanings that I just can't grasp as a simpleton. And when they're read in a British accent, it makes it even sound more like they're supposed to have some sort of higher meaning that I simply can't grasp because I'm a simpleton.
It's like, am I the wrong one here? I think I must be.
I'm like over in the corner chewing on the end of my pencil. What? Did someone say something?
Wipe your mouth with your shirt.
Yeah.
It reminds me of trying to read like Renaissance literature or something like that, where I'm like, I know these are all words, but I actually don't know what it says.
This particular arrangement of these words is just beyond me.
It's too much.
It's too much. It's too much for this time of the day.
It's a great accent now.
Descend straight into Sean Connery's.
That's funny.
So, guys, I'm looking at this spreadsheet and I can't make heads nor tails of it. First time I looked at it in a couple of months, to be honest.
A couple of months?
Well, we know because you weren't here.
Yeah.
A couple months.
There's just like random words on the I'm looking. It doesn't make any sense. It's just like random words scattered around the place. Ever since I stopped, coming in here and tidying things up, apparently the world's going to shit.
Well, most of the stuff is all related to. I mean, everything we had here before. We pulled a couple things forward from a few weeks ago, but there was an article on AI regulation versus crypto regulation. I wanted to bring forward, which was kind of funny. And then this week, obviously, was all this Coinbase and Binance bullshit here in the U.S. with the SEC. So that I don't know if we really want to talk about it or if we give a shit, but
I want to talk about it.
So we're on the right page then. 65.
All right, let's start. Yeah. Let's start with that.
I mean, it doesn't even have the right people in here. Okay, but all right, change that.
Or the guest for that matter.
I didn't even know it just came up.
We don't even have a guest, so delete that. Yeah. I mean, technically, Bendy's not a guest. He's on
the second episode
slot.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Am I now officially like a friend of the show?
You're catching up to no.
Yeah, you are a friend of the show. I didn't miss any for a year. I missed like one or two, and they're like, "Oh fuck, never shows up anymore."
Oh, you broke the streak, and then that was it. You went
down alive.
Yep.
Yeah, and yet when nobody's giving the phrase shit because he's busy yawping at Aptos.
That's right. Yeah, he is at Aptos yawping IRL. I mean, though, like, yeah, you got to yawp. I mean, to be fair, like if I had the option, go on the potty, talk to the boys, or go and yawp for business, I'd be out yawping. Fuck you guys.
But it's like midnight there, so it's a little bit. Actually, no, it's only whatever. It's 11:15 or something. There's
Where's that?
Yawping happening.
Yeah. Where is he?
Amsterdam.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I believe that. I believe that. I was going to say that time of night in Amsterdam is the best time for yawping.
It is. That's true.
Yeah, like the yawping doesn't happen during the conference. It happens like out on the street with, like, you meet the people at the conference, you get their deets, and then you follow up with them later on.
Right.
And then you go and get drunk and do drugs and then do some business.
you dance at the Milady rave until 4 a.m. and you sleep outside. And you sleep outside the Airbnb.
Sleep on the porch. Yeah. And then you make a contact for life. So
that's it.
And you retain your foundation delegations forever, and your validated business actually turns a profit.
Well, no.
That would be the thing, wouldn't it?
Well, what the fuck are you talking about? I want to live in your fucking crazy world. where you make profits. I feel like that's it's like that Charlie's Chocolate Factory's fucking rosy world with all the Oompa Loompas and shit running around.
I mean, is that rosy though? The Oompa Loompas were glorified slaves, and like the OSHA issues involved here.
Oh
like there's
my
this
God.
big chocolate river, and people are probably
we're just
in
fucking
it.
straight out of the gate, slapping a 2023 spin on fucking the downfall
I really
of Charlie's Chocolate Factory.
I want to pick this up though, because the Oompa Loompas only value chocolate, so they're being paid. They're being paid in the only currency they care about. Just because it's not living in your fiat world, Schultzy. That's outrageous.
So,
but see,
in actual fact, it's more of an analog for crypto.
Yeah. They're being given these lovely, delicious chocolate tokens.
Yeah, and we don't care about fucking fiat. It's just that sweet Juno shitcoin.
But it does turn out that chocolate is now in fact a commodity. Not a commodity, a security.
It's a security, yeah.
Yeah.
So you got to pay tax on your chocolate. This whole security debate, like, I'm a bit of a dum-dum, I feel like, because of this whole thing. I thought I knew things, but then like when they saw, it's a security, like, what are they saying? It's shares in a company? Is that what's happening here? Explain it to me, Usurper. I feel like you get it.
Yeah, explain the Howey test to us. I feel like I have a decent understanding, but I feel like having the extra 40 or 50 years that the Usurper has will give me that extra.
All right, let me go back.
Roaming this planet for an extra 40 years has made you wise, friend.
This is where we need Artifact on, because we talked about it one night late, and we talked about I knew about the Howey test beforehand, and what the history of that is. Let me pull the history up real quick while you guys make a short amount of small talk while I pull the right page up.
Okay. So the thing is that in Australia, like, I guess like the states are trailblazers, right? They're like, we want to lead the world, and we want to, like, lead the debate on cryptocurrency and all that bullshit. Whereas, like, when you come to Australia, the government doesn't give a fuck. They just want to get paid tax. They're like, if you trade in these things, you'll pay us tax, and then everything else about them we don't care about. So it's a little like, I don't understand why, like, the whole XRP saga, like, how has that gone on for years? It makes no sense. And now XRP is pretty much irrelevant because it's been superseded by other technologies.
Is it though? I mean, it's still a top 10, is it not?
It's a top 10, but it doesn't do anything it doesn't even have smart contracts, does it?
I was going to say, if you exclude stables, it's top 5, right? It's like there's Bitcoin, Ethereum, maybe BNB, and then XRP. I feel like I feel like if you exclude stables, it's the 4th biggest currency. Crazy.
Why it is absolutely fucking baffling, because I used to hold some. I sold it. Like, I got this when I was early into crypto. I was like, I got sold on the dream of XRP by some random people on Reddit, and sold it after I read into it. But like, to me, it's just sending token, right? I'm sure there's like, maybe there's smart contracts now. I don't think there ever used to be. But basically, like, they don't really have a decentralized manner of validating. So, like, you have to be on the list. There's like a list of trusted validator nodes. And if you're not on the list, then you can't validate. And like, all the validators have to share that list. So it's a closed circle. And you can't really get in there. And like, Ripple actually distribute that list, I'm pretty sure. So but yeah, I mean, it's cheap, I guess, to send transactions, and it's cross-borderless is the thing, but so is all of other crypto. But yeah, I don't know why XRP is such highly valued by people. I do know that like every month, 1 billion tokens comes up and gets unlocked by the foundation for Ripple, and then they sell what they need to keep the Ripple company going and then lock up the rest again. So basically every month the whole community gets dumped on by Ripple.
So my understanding of why Ripple is still so big is like it still has the claim to fame of like banks buying into it and banks wanting to use it, right? Whether that's still true, I kind of doubt it. But
do they? Because like look at the list of banks that are like invested in Ripple. I feel like they would build the dream.
Yeah. I mean, I concur, but I think that the reality of the story and like or the reality and the story have kind of segmented. So like Ripple is still seen as like, oh, well, they're like blazing a trail and they have good odds because banks are behind them, blah 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 blah. When it's probably not actually true. Aside from like the claim of banks wanting to use it and all bank transactions happening using Ripple, I don't think there's anything really separating them from everything else. Aside from, of course, that like the main guy has something like 70% of all Ripple, which is
crazy. So Brad Garlinghouse was at one point the richest man in the world, like for a day or two during like 2017 or 18 or whatever it was when there was like the big Ripple pump when it was $4 or something. Yeah, I remember reading that in the news.
All right, so a little bit about Howey.
Oh, okay, yeah, Howey.
So the history here in the U.S., I had to go pull it up because it's been a while since we talked about it, but this is back from the 1940s, I think like literally right after the war.
And how old were you at the time?
I was graduating college. No, actually, I'm sorry. This was 46, right in the middle of the war. So there was a Florida organization, W.J. Howey, had a sub business that was a service business, and basically what was happening was that the owner owned large tracts of citrus groves in Florida, like basically orange trees. They kept half the groves for its own use and sold real estate contracts for the other half to finance future developments. And he would sell the land for a price per acre, and then give to the purchaser a warranty deed upon payment in full for that purchase price. So then basically that purchaser could then lease it back to the service company, and they would tend for the land and all this kind of stuff. So basically what it turned into is that they were selling almost like a, what's the right term for it? They call it an investment contract, but they were basically selling a warrant on that land, a warranty deed on that land. They would lease it back to Howey to be able to run citrus on it, and et cetera, et cetera. So the idea was that, so the SEC went after it because in their words, this is back from the actual bill that went through. It says, in other words, an investment contract for purposes of the Securities Act means that a contract, transaction, or scheme whereby a person invests his money in a common enterprise and is led to expect profits solely from the efforts of the promoter or a third party, it being immaterial whether the shares in the enterprise are evidenced by formal certificates or by nominal interest in the physical assets employed by the enterprise. And so if you take this forward, what they're talking about now is that they're talking the idea that an investment contract in the Howey test, again, I wish John was here, you do a good job, but in the idea that an SEC can determine whether or not a token can be sold to U.S. investors, and requires that token compel to be able to be registered with the SEC, that if an investment of money in a common enterprise with a reasonable expectation of profits to be derived from the efforts of others. So I think what that kind of means is that I'm buying into I'm investing into a token. Things happen within that. And then the idea is that token price increases because of those things by others, right? Investment, like the team itself, other parties that are doing that. And if later if I'm able to sell that for a profit based on that effort, then that is considered a security. That's the definition.
So, but when you take a step back, right, and you just consider that a currency is the same thing as it, like as a cryptocurrency. Well, yeah, but I mean, you don't trade currency as a security, do you? But you take a step back and you go, well, how is cryptocurrency different to like fiat, where fiat gains value from the basis of your economy, which is off the backs of other people doing work, right?
All securities,
because one of them's the government, and they're not going to say that they're a security. Like, that's the answer.
So, okay, what is the implication of a cryptocurrency being a security? And I feel like that directly relates to existing laws that they would like to enforce on securities. Is that the whole the deal?
I believe in America that means you need to be a broker to trade it, right? Rather than you can't just do what you do at the moment, where you go onto an exchange and buy the token.
No,
or
I don't.
You can't, or you can't do DeFi.
No, I don't think any of that's true. Actually, I think it just creates. I don't think that's true. It just creates rules and structures around what that security has to have, and the registration of that security, and the regulatory obligations of that security to be delivered. So it does. I don't think it necessarily. And also, I think there's some minimums here as well. Like, there has to be a market cap on that security as well. Like, I don't think it's to zero. And so there's some other coming things, but like what Noel said, like money markets and those types of things that are just, wrapped, small fiat type of returns. Those are all securities as well. So, I mean, I was trying to look up also like where the definition of it here is what is really what's in question, right? So if it does pass the Howey test, and if the passage says that, okay, I'm buying a token at a specific price, there's work that's being done in that token. Meaning like in the project, either by the team that owns that project, right, or by others, or by et cetera, et cetera. And my expectation is that goes up because of that work, and it is a security. What is the big deal with that? And so that means each of those tokens has to register, or there has to be, I think, a broker, like somebody has to be responsible for that to be able to register that security. There would be rules from Coinbase and other exchanges that are dealing in that security. I think what that goes to is also, but at some point, like from us as validators, like we're non-custodial, like we're an infrastructure type of structure that helps. We're not directly related to that security. I know that's really where the gray area starts to get into. But
well, I think where I may have confused things is I believe that you and I've just done some very quick Googling to try to unpick where I've gone wrong, but effectively, securities, you can buy them from the company itself. Mm-hmm. You can buy them from individuals that hold them. Mm-hmm. You can buy them from banks, mm-hmm. and you can buy them via a broker. So if a currency, that basically means that then exchanges would need to be registered as brokers. Correct. In order to carry on in the model that we are now, yes. Because there is no company that could sell you Juno or Atom or whatever.
And they would have to be registered for, number one, they have to be registered. There would be regulations of how they're managed, right? Yeah. And like what they need to be able to carry on the books and those types of things. There would be regulation in terms of what tokens they could offer, right? No different than like the SEC approving a specific stock listing, which I think allows it to be traded anywhere. But there might be other, like say Schwab wants to be able to create an ETF basket of stocks. That is a registered security, that ETF, right? And so they go through the process of registering that security, and I'm sure whatever controls are in place for that have to be managed, and Schwab owns that. So would Juno or somebody else have to register to be able to be allowed that other exchanges could trade that? I would think the answer would have to be yes.
So I mean, but how would that even look like? Like,
who knows?
There's no central entity that owns Juno.
Oh, there is, right? There's a legal entity that has Juno, right?
There's no like company that issues fucking Juno.
There has to be an organization
that issues Juno.
Like
what are you talking about?
From a founding perspective, and from Juno, is there a Juno Inc. or a Juno LLC or a Juno Limited that exists somewhere?
No, of course not.
No, Core One there's no legal entity associated to that.
No, not that I know of.
But also the question is even if Core One wrote all the code, they wouldn't be the one. Like at the point that Genesis happened, is Core One the people that have issued those tokens, or is that the person that proposed that block? Is it the people that voted on that block? Like, I don't.
Well, it's people taking code from a repository and running it. Like, it's not. I mean, some of them were a cog in the wheel, but most of them weren't even. Half of them weren't even involved with. Actually, less than half of them weren't even involved with running the actual network. So, is writing code, does that make you then responsible for?
Yeah, I think it does.
The how?
And
it's not even in the code of the network. It's in the words in the Genesis file is what actually you can take that exact same code, change the denom and the accounts that it goes to, and it's all completely different then.
Dude, if your name's on, if somehow you're associated, regardless, I'm surprised there's not an organization, by the way, but if I'm sure there is for other organizations, like I would think, like I know there's a Stargaze Inc. You know what I mean? Like I'm really surprised there's not one at Juno, but there is an organization, right? I'm not sure about the hub either, but yes or no? It doesn't be in the US, but somebody somewhere is responsible for that, which means that and this is what I think their whole point is, if anybody can start a token and and there's expectation of the Howey test that I'm putting money in, other people do work, and that number goes up, then there's an equal amount of risk in terms of that being 100% rugged or being fraud. And this is where the SEC says the consumers need some protection. I'm not making that point. That's the point that they're making. So now,
but that is the three main points of that's one of the three main points of why they want to regulate crypto, and are. I mean, it's all investor protections, regulatory oversight, and financial stability.
Right, and even if you have the FTX situations where there's just massive fraud, right? Like that business should have been regulated. That's fucking bullshit, right? Where you're taking basically staking components that people think they're earning on specific staking, and either that's a Ponzi where they're just replacing those, or they are taking those dollars and using them elsewhere in a different business to be able to make bad investments. Like that shit that's fucking bad, right? I think anybody would agree with that, right? So, but does that mean that the token needs to be regulated? Or the exchange needs to be regulated? And I think here in this business, how the fuck would you possibly regulate this stuff? Like this is like the rest of these securities that we're talking about are either US based or there's something that's overseas that you have a US component of that are re-registered here. What are you gonna do? Register Juno in 33 countries? There's no fucking way. Right. So, and you're not gonna stop anybody from using that either. So then what are you trying to control? And I think the only thing you can't control is the exchanges, is the conversion into fiat. That would be what else do you do? Like you can't, how do you possibly control cryptocurrency? Like you can't put that regulation in. So can you control US residents getting access to that to turn it into dollars? Yeah, you could probably do a pretty good job there if you really wanted to.
I think because the other thing that's happening in America, right, is this stuff around what makes a network sufficiently decentralized, right? So that's the other kind of legislative thing playing out, which I've got to admit I haven't followed particularly closely, but I thought was actually more interesting in the sense that it's legislation that's looking at the challenge of here is a product that our current rules don't help us with. Because whoop-de-doo, you've called something a security, but it ain't helping anyone.
Yeah.
So if the purpose of the legislation is to protect consumers, it isn't fit for purpose. So I think that's where you kind of go, there's this new style of product and it doesn't fit the legislation dating back to the 1940s. So new legislation is necessary. And I thought that the idea that you might have some rules around what would make a network sufficiently decentralized to not fall into the security model was kind of interesting.
Yeah. I don't know too much about that argument either. Honestly, Ben, I haven't heard too much about that piece of it. It's like I kind of don't I don't know how much of this is real and how much of this is bullshit lip service. Like I really don't like I forget who it was on Twitter. If I could find it, I'll put it in the show notes. But somebody said like this is not coming to a head. Like Gensler's not going to be standing on the fucking steps the Capitol building making a major announcement around cryptocurrency. Like that's not going to happen. So
who said that?
Somebody said that. I forget.
I remember someone say that.
Yeah, and like that, I totally agree with that approach. Like they'll settle with Coinbase. Coinbase will pay some money for this, right? Even though, I mean, I don't think they've done anything wrong, but whatever, right? Like it's tough to play in a game when the rules aren't set, and then come back later and say these are the rules and you're fucked. So, and maybe some of that they did know, right? And some of that they said, well, the rules aren't set, so therefore we're going to do what the hell we want, and then there's some sort of reasonable expectation, and they're going to be outside.
So you think that Coinbase might cop a fine for trading in unregistered securities?
Absolutely. Yeah. And then maybe, and all they want, and honestly, all I want too, I just want some fucking clarity. Like it doesn't have to be nothing. Like the answer doesn't have to be it's totally deregulated and all this type of stuff. Like there are probably some good points of this that need to happen here in the US at least. And there's probably some stuff that's totally stupid that you just have senators who should have retired 40 years ago have no fucking idea what the hell we're talking about. Right. And then there'll be some sort of balance between those two areas that I hope comes out. And I think once you have clarity, and once those rules are set, regardless of how ominous those rules are, then I think that might be, we always talked on this show, like, no, we've always talked about like, what is the compelling event that gets us out of the bear? That might be it. That actually might be it. Like some sort of fucking finality to say, this is it. And even if those rules are ominous, like I said before, that clarity might be enough to say people say, I understand this. We can work in this structure. Now, now I'm going to, you're going to see new projects show up because I know what the rules are now, and it's not just like this fucking Wild West bullshit, right?
I believe that's probably correct because I also think that centralized digital currencies are actually going to, like, this is going to make me so unpopular, but they are going. I think centralized digital currencies are going to be the catalyst to the next bull.
Yeah,
because I think that at that because I believe that is when institutions like banks will get involved. I think there'll be enough regulatory clarity that people will feel like they can run businesses, and I think there'll be enough surety from the vast majority of individuals that there is someone saying that this number on a screen has a meaning in the same way as my bank account does, which at the moment they don't feel. I appreciate that runs against pretty much the entire spirit of being a cypherpunk and anything like that, but I sort of think that's the next realistic step.
Right. I think that.
So I think that that is the sentiment of probably most of us here as well, Bendy, because we've not necessarily that might be the catalyst that breaks the bear cycle, but definitely we've talked about it here before that to actually gain any kind of adoption with normies, you need like that safe haven asset to jump in and out of. That's not related to a centralized entity like UST or USDC, like Tether or Circle.
Yeah.
But, it can't be like there are like, crypto. Crypto is born out of an idea, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that it has to follow that narrative for its entire existence. And there can be like a subset of crypto that follows that narrative, but it doesn't mean that all of crypto has to follow that narrative. Like things change, things morph, things evolve, right, into other things. So Bitcoin can remain the decentralized proof of work thing that all of the diehards go to if they want something that can't be regulated, etc. But like in terms of the metamorphosis of the rest of the industry, then I think that having regulation and clarity around the rules can only be good for the industry in that it can open the door, like Usurper says, to institutions and investors actually knowing what's going on and having an easier door into it. I mean, if there's a CBDC and banks are on board, then and that can be traded at exchanges like friggin' I don't know, Qcoin or whatever the fucking exchanges are that people use. I don't really know, Binance. Then that's a window into the industry and that's going to onboard the billion fucking users that we need to actually make a go of it and get some stability in the industry. Because at the moment, it is like occasional investors from retail that come in during hype periods or boredom, and then pump the whole industry and then lose interest, and the whole thing falls apart again. And then all the people who have entered and trying to make a living out of the industry are kind of left there with their dick in their hand trying to figure out what to do.
Right.
But I think that, like, sorry, go on, Chelsea.
I've kind of wondered if CBDCs are going to lead to like the de facto form of exchange regulation. Like, I can imagine a future where only a handful of exchanges will actually support, I don't know, USDG for USD government. And those exchanges are therefore considered like regulated. And if, say, KuCoin tries to take USDG and trade on it, then the US government comes down on them, right? And so you can trust whether an exchange is vetted by the government if it's on said exchange, kind of idea. I don't know if that'll actually happen, but I can see that being a future that happens. So it's a very clear one-to-one, like, well, this is here, so obviously it's been reviewed, it's been checked, and
well, I mean, that would need to fall within their jurisdiction, though. Like, you know, that exchange would need to be registered as a company under some purview of the United States to be able to, you know, make that regulation on them. There'll still be like rogue shit out of other countries or decentralized, centralized exchanges, and you know, that type of stuff. So I think the listing of a USD, let's just call it a USD because that's probably what it would be listed as.
Yeah.
I don't think that could be, personally, I don't think that could be used as the source of truth as to whether or not regulation is graced this good company that is masquerading as a centralized entity to trade your crypto at. Just because the nature of being able to use that anywhere.
Because FDX could have been, any of the tokens on there could have been called anything. They could have all been fiat currencies and it would have still been a scam.
Yeah.
Exactly. FTX, the collapse of FTX, it was really interesting. I talked to a couple of people I knew who weren't in crypto but knew I was, and they heard this story and they were like, oh, is this not terrible? I was like, this is exactly what actual blockchain prevents happening, because you can actually see where the assets are and you can see who holds them and you can see balances and you can reconcile shit. And this is why it is actually... But like, it's the same thing with Informal have got this Ko-Fi idea, right, which just allows for much more elegant settling of your debts, and kind of it means that your speed of settling invoices suddenly becomes really quick. You can settle your obligations, and it's like, that sounds a great idea, but it basically only works if you can trade in a currency that businesses can be comfortable with. And again, that, you know, you go, well, that as soon as there is central, you know, government tokens, like tech like that is going to come in, whether it's Informal or whether it's someone else, you know, tech like that is going to come in, and it just enables, it lowers the risk in the system, right? People are less likely to go bankrupt due to cash flow issues because your actual debtors can pay you, or you know whether they can or not, or you can judge those risks much better.
Right.
So I just tunneled off to make a cup of coffee.
Clearly.
Yeah.
Can you mute me? Can you mute me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just glad he wasn't having a piss.
Yeah. It's like Naked Gun. This kind of relates to something we've had in the notes for a long time, but I'll put the link in the show. There's an Axios article with the OpenAI CEO. So there's a lot of talk going on with like generative AI and everything else that's going on with, you know, ChatGPT and Google saying, and, you know, everybody's announcing shit, right? And the title of this Axios article is OpenAI CEO in historic move calls for regulation before Congress. So the OpenAI CEO and a bunch of AI CEOs are coming forward and saying, listen, this shit's fucking dangerous. we think we should be regulated in some sort of way. We want some guidelines and some rules of how this should be done. And I think it's just hilarious that I think there's not just the Coinbase piece, but there's been a lot of talk about crypto regulation and trying to get past some sort of basic set of rule sets to be able to move forward. What we were talking about before. And there's some quotes in this article, which are, Dick Durbin from Illinois, who's kind of a dick, called it in multiple levels, called it historic that the company was coming forward to Congress pleading for regulation. And quote, "This is your chance, folks, to tell us how to get it right. Please use it," said Senator John Kennedy, Republican from Louisiana. "Talk in plain English and tell us what rules to implement." How fucking hilarious that this is kind of for me, this is a real crypto negative indicator, which is when you have a business that doesn't necessarily threat traditional finance and those types of things. It's, hey man, you guys, this is good technology. We want to use this. Tell us the rules you want us to implement. Lay it out for us, and we'll figure it out. And then in this situation we've been talking about here with like the U.S. and the SEC and everything else, literally this is probably 10 years of some sort of aspect, or at least 6 years of requesting for some sort of clarity around crypto regulation, and what you get is lawsuits associated with that.
Do you think some of that relates to the initial culture of crypto, though, which was was confrontational?
Absolutely,
the banks.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no doubt.
So as much as it's now asking for regulation in some parts, or the vast majority,
for sure. But these are fucking adults. Right, they're not like 4-year-olds. Like I understand what the original piece was, but also as a lawmaker, and regardless of original intent, you look at the current situation and say, what's the best thing for my constituents and for the general public at large? You don't sit there and fucking quash things because you're a petulant child, which unfortunately most of this, I mean,
I was going to question the entire premise of your thing of like, these are grown adults, they're not 4-year-olds. They're all like, that sort of is what politicians, and that's how you stay elected, right? Is, appealing to, you don't have to do the right thing. You just have to win the votes.
Yeah, which I'm actually surprised, because I think there's not really a massive cultural backlash towards this technology, at least as far as I know. Like, I mean, there's clearly, even for as much loss as there been.
Meaning AI or crypto?
Crypto. Like, there, for as much fucking loss that has occurred, and I know prices are in the shit and blah 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 blah, right? And there's clearly been, I'm not saying it's 100%, but for as much fraud and bullshit and challenges early on, and money flowing in, and either contract issues or rugging or like regulatory issues or like the Sam Bankmans of the world, all this type of shit, there's still a tremendous amount of positivity. And I think the general public, maybe at least here, more than 50% would say there's a role for this in the future. How do we use this? And it's still, these types of articles just kind of make me laugh and sad at the same time, because the idea that lawmakers are coming forward and saying, "Look, let us tell us what rules you want us to implement." We want let us know what you want to do. It just makes me fucking laugh.
I think AI is much easier to understand, though, because we've had movies telling us that the robots are going to come and kill us for years. So people are like scared of the tech, but also, but kind of know that the innovation will happen, and they've kind of, like, weirdly, they've actually learned that you perhaps want to try and work alongside it. Whereas I think my actual view on crypto is I don't think anyone actually understands what benefit it has on any scale. I think in the UK, there's some efforts by some nerds within the Bank of England to do some good stuff with it. But whenever I tell anyone that I do this kind of thing, they're just like, so how can I use that in real life? And I'm like, well, basically you can't yet, but you should be able to use it to do these sort of things because it just is a ledger. And then they kind of go, oh, okay, that could make sense. But it's like the AI just feels like it's intuitively understandable more or more scary. And whereas crypto's like, well, that's just banking.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think here I think what we were talking about before, which I think is probably the case, is that it's not going to be the exchanges, like these exchanges are going to pull it out. It's going to be traditional financial U.S. large scale banks that will make that change. So with USD as a coin that's led by Wells and Chase and others, with having a set of offerings that are through traditional banks available in a portal next to other offerings, that is what's going to end up making change here. Not Congress, not these exchanges, not crypto bros. Like, it's going to have to be something that's more traditional, that they understand there's money to be made there. And if they can find a way to make money off of that, and it's regulatory, and they regulate it, and they understand what the rules are, and blah blah blah. If that's there, then I think you see these groups coming in there pretty hard, right? And you're already seeing that. Like, you see that with like Fidelity, and Schwab has a like they're all going that direction. I think they're all looking for clarity too.
Look, USD Circle has BlackRock, right? You know,
yeah, they do.
Like,
yeah,
that's right. I forgot about that.
Actually.
So, but this is my thing, right? Like, as soon as if BlackRock have more and more progressively more certainty, right, that's a huge amount of capital.
Yeah, I'll put that in the notes too. That's so that Ben, remind me what that is. That is they're using that's the opposite way though, right? They're aren't they taking Circle deposits and putting those into BlackRock funds or something like that? Is that what that is, or what are they doing?
Now I'm going to have to remember this. I believe that Circle are investing into BlackRock, but I also think that, potentially BlackRock also owns some of Circle.
Oh yeah, okay.
Because everything's a Circle stake, right?
Yep, I can. Yeah,
everything's always a Circle stake. Todd sorry. Todd says, I said the word immaturity for the Congress. He said not immaturity, senility, which is correct. Good call. Yeah, let's put how about term limits on that fucking shit? Jesus. What a mess.
Or age limits.
Either way.
Yeah. So they've been in office for a while. Is that what you're suggesting? I'm not from the US of A.
It's a position for life.
Oh, what is?
Well, politicians here, at least, like, to defeat an incumbent is extremely difficult, regardless of whether they're liked or not. Like, Ted Cruz is one example where he apparently is like universally disliked, but he's like undefeatable in Texas regardless.
And other roles like Supreme Court justices and those types of things, those are for life, which is, so once somebody's in there, that opinion's there until they're dead, which might not be at the same way that the rest of the public thinks.
I mean, we have that with the House of Lords, right? Where our system's incredibly shit. Where once upon a time it used to be that you inherited that. They got rid of that eventually in like the.
Oh, really? It's handed down.
Yeah, so like if your dad was a law, like there were hereditary peers. So if you were Sabendi, and then my son, he would get to go and make laws after me. And that was the kind of, Frey would now go on a 10-minute rant about landed gentry and hunting grouse, but we'll just take that as read and move on. But so it was them, and it was like the bishops and some other people. But now it's like the last of the hereditary peers are dying off, and then you've still got the bishops, and then basically everyone else is like the government of the day get to put as many people as they like into the House of Lords. So it's constantly getting bigger, and they're not elected, and they stay there indefinitely. So it is literally cronyism.
Right.
And because we've had quite a turbulent time in terms of like leaders. So when Theresa May went, Boris Johnson, what's her face, Liz Truss, who are all prime ministers for a collective period of like 2 years, maybe. Mm-hmm. Like all of them basically put their mates and people that they work closely with into the House of Lords. And so now there's just more votes for their particular political party. But the other side would do exactly the same, right? It's just the way the system is. But it's completely shit, because what it means is you've got a load of people that for a very short period of time turn up to support their team, and then eventually get bored and just cream off the expenses. And everyone kind of goes, "Oh, we should do something about this," and never bother because it's not. You're not going to win an election on saying electoral reform, right?
Right.
But it's the whole kind of House of Lords in the UK is kind of pointless, basically, because it doesn't make any laws. It just kind of
it just continues.
Votes on the laws. It votes on the laws the House of Commons have passed, and it can push back a little bit, but basically the House of Commons does what the fuck it wants.
Right.
So you've just got effectively, you've got a lot of very rich people being given subsidized wine.
Too bad the Frey's not here. I know he's a huge backer of the monarchy. I know it's like favorite thing and hereditary, sovereignty and all that type of stuff. I know, like, too bad he's not here to really talk about that, because I know he's such a backer of that.
He wept when the Queen deceased.
I genuinely did, but that was because it caused me an absolute ball ache at work, because we had to take down, effectively we had to, like, you weren't allowed to have a website. You had to have a tribute to Her Majesty as your kind of homepage. And
what?
You had to? What do you mean you had to?
Yeah, pretty much. So my employer at the time was owned we were sort of owned by the council, because I worked at the Arena in Liverpool. The buildings were owned by the council. The council had a legal obligation to do this, right? Of like doing that. So we had to follow suit, and other places did as well. So like if you were a royal something, like the Royal National Theatre and things like that. Mm-hmm. And then basically every business in the UK went, shit, all these things are doing it, we have to do it too. And so I suddenly had to create a whole new bit of functionality for our website to kind of put this page in front of it that we didn't have. And at the time I was in the middle of a kind of website upgrade project, because our actual website was fucked. The CMS just wouldn't publish new pages. So I was just like, when the Queen was ill, I was literally begging for her to stay on a few more days so that the developers could get this thing done. And it was really, really, really annoying. And made me have but I kind of would come home and just have no interest in anything other than, was she still breathing?
What a shame.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, continue, Bendy. Are you gonna say something?
All I was going to say is I'm pumped from a part of the UK that is probably less pro-monarchy than the Frey is.
Less? So, wow.
Yeah. So Liverpool is, other than having two football clubs and the Beatles, it basically doesn't think that it's part of the UK. It sees itself as there's a whole sort of Scouse, not English thing, and part of that involves just hating the monarchy. They're all lizards kind of thing.
Wait, why?
Well, it is kind of a antiquated concept, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, why does Liverpool hate? Why does Liverpool not see itself as British?
Yeah.
Port City, looking out at the rest of the world, we feel like we're closer to New York than Manchester. That's sort of our outlook, is like out to sea. But there is also just like, we have been, as a city, it's been shat on from a great height by the powers that be for a number of years.
From a great height. I love this decidedly British damage shit that you say. Yeah, I've been writing down decidedly British shit that Bendy's been saying, like ball ache. I believe is like a reasonably British thing to say. But you said before, take that as read. Now, I haven't heard any other culture use that, but I'm assuming that means that let's just assume that you've already aware of this and covered it, right? Is that it? Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to assume that you've read the chapter. I mean, like, it's that kind of thing, right?
Oh, red, READ. I was thinking red as in RED.
Oh,
not like I was like.
And Schultze, please explain how that fits context.
Yeah, and how is this communist? I was like, okay.
I hadn't realized that I was so unintelligible. I hadn't got that I was just talking nonsense.
Well, so the British, like Australia, have just a bunch of things that you say that you assume people know, but they're actually colloquialisms that people don't have a fucking idea what you're talking about.
Like yarning or whatever.
Having a yarn.
Well, because in Britain, you can spin someone a yarn, right? Which is telling them a story.
And obviously, that's where we got it from. Is you blokes coming over to our country with your ships,
and our crimes, our criminals.
There's a TV show called 10 Bob Poms, on I don't know, fucking Stan or some streaming shit, and it's about the English coming to Australia like during a period of decline in England, where the poorer people would come to Australia to try and make it. And apparently we didn't like you guys much when you came over.
Word on the street is.
I mean, like
we do have a history. Citizen.
We do have a history of not being well liked overseas for some reason.
There's a scene in this show, right, where old mate's come over from England and he's trying to secure himself some employment, and he's at the let's call it an employment office, where you sort of go up and you're like, yeah, I'm here for a job, and they'll like look at the little tickets with all of the jobs written on them, and they're like, oh, we've got a job here for like, shoveling shit out of the latrine. And he's like, oh yeah, well, I am a fully qualified carpenter. And they're like, yeah, but you're not Australian. So then he's like, well, is there anything else? They're like, no. And he's like, oh well, I guess I'll take the shoveling shit out of the latrine job. And they're like, okay, just wait a minute while we go and see if there's any other Australians who want that job first. Anybody want the shoveling shit out of the latrine job? No, thanks. All right, goes. It's pretty funny. I'm not sure if it's meant to be a comedy, but it certainly comes across that way.
It's a documentary.
Well, I mean, it's like a docu-series, right? That's completely probably off the mark, but
that's funny.
Good fun. What else do we have on the list? Probably. What is this fucking thing? Have you ever seen those Japanese beetles just like fucking each other?
I assume that quote in the spreadsheet for folks who are not looking at the spreadsheet. The Fray and Artifact are together this week at this conference, so I'm guessing that's where that came from.
Hey, so fun story. There's a blockchain conference in Australia.
Is there?
Of the month. Yeah.
Does anyone?
It's a bit of a weird one. Is it
sponsored? Is it sponsored by Big Balls Blockchain?
No, but I'm going. So
I assume you are. You're probably the only one there.
Yeah. It's him and Rama. They're just going to the pub.
I can almost definitely assure you that I will be the only Cosmos validator there. Clearly. So.
Oh dear, Rama's livid.
Oh yeah, all the tickets are done too, Rama. I don't think you want to go, man. I think it's a corporate circle jerk, but they're because they're like the big wigs of crypto in Australia, like the corporations and shit are going to this thing. But it's like
is it like a Ethereum based thing, or what is it? Like what's it on?
It's just
or is it just whatever, like, or is that a finance?
Crypto. Yeah, it's not like based around. Yeah, it's like Bitcoin and fucking Ethereum and all the bullshit. But it's not like
I thought Rama ran the corporation though. Like, isn't that his like entire thing? Is that he's the head of the corporation?
he's the head of a corporation.
No, I think it's the corporation.
The corporation.
Capital T.
So the way they do it in Australia for Blockchain Week is it's not out of place. It's not let's go to Sydney for a week and do Blockchain Week, right? It's like they'll have like a day in Sydney, a day in Adelaide, a day in Brisbane, a day in fucking Perth.
Really?
And they got a day in Melbourne, right? Yeah. So Melbourne's like the 5th day, like at the end.
Have you got something specific against Perth? Because you were like, it's a day here, it's a day there, it's a day there, it's a day in fucking Perth. So
well, Perth's on the other side of the Perth's on the other side of the fucking country. It takes like 6 hours to fly there.
I always love. You should go to that conference. So when you say, you get that look. Would you ever go, like we were at ETH Denver, right? Or we go to the Aptos thing or something else, and you say, you meet somebody new, you're like, I validate for Cosmos, and they give you like that sad puppy dog look, like, oh, how sweet is that?
Oh, you just discovered crypto.
Yeah. Yeah, are you making $10 today? Are you? Yeah, that's nice. Yeah. Oh, IBC, I've heard of it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I love those conversations. It's going to be awesome. Shut the fuck up.
Future, man.
Shut the fuck up, man.
Anyway, so they sent me. I got the ticket for the one in Melbourne, right? And it's all very like, it's not like there's a big shed full of booths.
Shed,
right? Big garage full of booths. There's it's actually like you go to the hotel and they have booked out like the hotel's amphitheater or whatever they have at the hotel, and then people do like talks. So I'm assuming it's going to be all very corporate and people like pulling each other off and congratulating each other on another good year. Yeah. But there's like a breakfast. I imagine it's like a corporate breakfast. Tickets are free, of course. There's like this breakfast in the morning. It's like at fucking 7:15 in the morning. So that's a
corporate crypto conference. Yeah,
they are not the kind of crypto people I know about.
That is exactly. Yeah, there's no Lamborghini parking out front of that shit. No, breakfast at 7.
Mercedes only. The Mercedes and Bentley affair.
S-Class.
So yeah, and anyway, so that'll be interesting. I was thinking about wearing a button-up shirt.
Do you have one? Is there one back there?
I'll have to buy one.
Yeah,
there is some shit hanging in the cupboard right there.
I see. Yeah, I thought so. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That looks like a button-up shirt back there. Yeah, pull one of those out.
There's a suit in there. I don't know if it fits. Yeah.
Somebody die?
Someone will
funerals.
die.
So it's just for funerals.
Some
That's
point.
all I use it for.
Actually, cool. I went to a ball, a gala, a ball. It's like they've got. So my partner's a engineer, and so they have industry balls and fundraisers and shit that you go to. So wear a suit. It's like the only occasion I wear a suit.
An engineer ball? That sounds.
It's like it's more of an
boring.
It's an industry thing. It's like a for example, like the water industry might have like a industry ball with a fundraiser for fucking kids with one toe or something.
Your upper class, high society, your God's gift to ballroom notoriety. You always fill your ballroom. The event is never small. The social pages say that you've got the biggest balls of them all. You get that reference? Okay. You don't get that reference?
You're talking about my
It can be more Australian than that.
Yeah, it's AC/DC, right?
Fucking A, my man. How do you
my guy?
My guy. Some
guy.
Balls are held for charity and some for fancy dress, but the balls that are held for pleasure are the ones that I like best. No,
I feel like this should be entirely what.
Chelsea, what the fuck, man?
I got it. What are you talking about? I knew
Robert didn't say anything.
This should be the theme tune for Big Balls Blockchain.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? It really should be, shouldn't it? I'll pull that up.
Are you suggesting we rename the potty to Big Balls Blockchain?
Oh my goodness!
I guess we have to get through to episode 69 and then we can call it a day.
I assume he's in shock of. Also, Robert says that you've shamed us. Yeah, I would agree.
I mean, when you've only got one band, how can you not know all their songs?
I thought that was like, didn't you get sing to didn't your parents sing to you, like your mom sang to you as a go to night? I figured she sang to you. she sang some song off of Those About to Rock or something like that. Is that no?
Look, man, I'm actually not very cultured in the
in the rock and roll,
in the musical ways of Australia.
I love.
Is there anything more than AC/DC? You got AC/DC and what? Boys to Men, and that's it. That's all you got.
No,
you and got, the didgeridoo.
No. You what's it? Oh shit. Well, you got Midnight Oil.
Brian Adams.
Is he? Oh, I didn't know that. Midnight Oil's great fucking band.
Maybe not.
Men at Work. In Excess is an Australian band, right?
That's what I meant. Men at Work, not
Men at Work is fucking awesome. In Excess is an Australian band. AC/DC, obviously. Yeah. Who else did I say? Oh, Midnight Oil, great band. Silverchair. Silverchair. Robert said Silverchair. Silverchair.
I like the fact that is why I'm saying there is one band, because at the point where, in order to jump in with another one, we're down to Silverchair already. I think we should be at a point where we just accept that Australia has one contribution to music.
Silverchair.
Well, Sweden only has ABBA, so it's only fair, right?
No, Sweden also has what's that heavy metal band that's fucking up there? I'll think of it.
Hey, we got Daryl Braithwaite, don't we? He's Australian. We can claim him. Oh,
sure.
What about that gay dude with the glasses?
Elton John? I don't think he's Australian.
Elton John's British. He's British. He was my Elton John was my last gig at the Arena. That was quite fun because
really
yeah.
That's awesome.
So I was backstage talking to someone there, and then we all had to get out the way because Elton was coming, and basically he had to he wasn't allowed to see that we existed, and then he was going to get into his little buggy that was going to drive him from his car to his dressing room, and then from his dressing room to the stage, and we had to just bugger off.
No, that's not true. Really?
Yeah. It's completely I mean, if I was going to lie, I'd have come up with a better story, right? But yeah, it's these kind of things are it was quite fun. It's always good, it's interesting stuff being at the Arena because you did have these occasional global megastars, but never any from Australia because Kylie, hang on, you've got Kylie Minogue.
Who?
Australian. She's more British than you.
Well, yeah, but Neighbours, right? Your one television program.
Fuck. It's going back. Probably still running.
It actually just finished. They literally just ended it, I think last year.
And not soon enough. Eh? Fucking Neighbours.
It was big news in Britain when that finished.
It must have been running longer than fucking The Simpsons.
38
same sort of trajectory of quality as well, I think.
Hey, Simpsons coming back right now. They were just literally, I was just reading about it because I just started watching this last season. That's actually pretty damn good right now.
I'm pretty excited for King of the Hill coming back.
What's coming
back? King of the Hill. King of the Hill is coming back.
Is it really?
Oh, really? With
propane accessories?
That's right. Propane accessories.
Beavis and Butthead's back right now, too. Have you been watching those?
That I didn't know.
Yeah. He's been back. It's second season or third season. I just actually watched one last night, and it had a little bit of the, they don't watch music videos anymore. Now they watch YouTube videos, which was kind of funny because it's different because it's always fun to watch music videos, but it's much more in line with today. And they make some good fun out of some bullshit YouTube videos, I got to say.
That sounds awesome. I'm going to pull it up.
Yeah, they're good.
Oh, so Beavis and Butthead is worth the watch.
It is. I think. I mean,
it's the reboot.
If you watched it when I watched it back in the day, but it's not the same, right? But it's slightly different, but it still has some really good stuff to it. There's still some pretty decent stuff in there. And this season of Simpsons actually is pretty funny. But I'm still waiting for more Rick and Morty's.
Rick and Morty. I'm waiting for what's my man's name? David. The fuck is what is that show called? Dave. Fuck.
Is it
Curb Your
Dave?
Enthusiasm?
Oh,
no,
with Curb. Yep.
Curb. Can't wait for the fucking Curb, man. It's like my favorite show.
Is that ending
ever.
soon? Is he ending that, or did he talk about ending?
I think it'll end when he fucking dies. Like,
I thought it did end. Did it not?
He said he's ending it like 20 fucking times.
Yeah. That's pretty funny.
But yeah, he's just like, I don't know. I don't think he can. I don't think he can stop. It's like one of those people with a problem.
More
Can't
stories.
Stop, won't stop.
A lot of good stuff out of this year, though.
Hey, so in the ecosystem news,
what do you got?
The Juno delegations are going to drop soon, Schultzy. And I don't think you
great, love it.
Yeah.
Do you mean drop from the foundation, or drop as in the number goes down?
As in they'll make the delegations like in the next couple of days, I think.
Oh, from your Q? Is this from Q1 or Q2 or whatever? Aren't you doing this quarterly or no? How often?
Not anymore. No, it's fucking way too much work to do quarterly.
I mean, I should have filled out your fucking form.
It's one and done right now. That's it. Never to change again.
Like, I'd love to do it that way. So, there is a fucking lot of labor in it, to be honest. Like, I had no idea how much work it was going to be, and
it's because your rules are too detailed.
Yeah, well, yes and no. Yeah, yes and no. So, I mean, a lot of it was easy points, right? And I think we're going to try and go down a route of more automation with Rama. Who are we doing that with? I can't remember the name, but there's a company out there that's making like some automation software around this to monitor the blockchain and help actually distribute those delegations fairly with the non what was the word? It's fucking early. You're like the non subjective criteria.
You mean
where there's a source of criteria. Truth. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You mean so like whether that's uptime or some sort of whatever.
Yeah, like uptime, whether RPCs are running archives, all that shit. Because even going through and checking those is fucking huge pain in the ass.
I mean, whatever.
Please say what you're going to say.
It doesn't matter. 120 validators all offering the same exact services is not valuable. That's what I was going to say. That's everybody's running RPCs. Who gives a shit? Like, there's not much traffic, right? You got like one transaction a block. How many fucking RPC nodes do you need? Seriously,
there's a lot of spam.
Seriously,
I might argue even that the RPCs that we have available, like using the chain registry, are more of a hindrance at this moment in time than they are beneficial.
What do you mean hindrance?
I think that it gives really easy access for like people doing nefarious things, or maybe not even deliberately nefarious things, but nefarious things nonetheless. Gives them a really easy on-ramp for doing said things. Like on Secret right now, occasionally like the set is basically going down because someone's writing an ARB bot, and then they'll just sequentially go through the chain registry and knock out all those nodes and then start attaching to random open RPCs, and it's really annoying.
What do you mean knocking them out? You mean like DOSing them out, like spamming them out to the node stops, or what do you mean?
Effectively, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And what they're doing basically is like funneling a lot of transactions, and then because Secret is just slower, unfortunately, like a very basic like swap transaction, he's spamming them because he's trying to create an R bot, right? And that's making basically the entire network slow down because so many blocks are being missed because of it.
So they're filling a very expensive to compute block with a bunch of bullshit, and then using the R bot to get whatever they want to be able to get.
Yeah, basically.
Fucking hell. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway.
So, well, I mean, RPC is something that I I think is like everyone needs it regardless, right? But I mean, doing something with them is the important thing. Like they need to be behind some sort of load balancer that just distributes traffic. There's no point in having them if they're not. But I don't know. Maybe a system that would make more sense would be like apply to be an RPC provider, to be included with the delegation program or something, like, rather than just saying here's my RPC, say I want to be an RPC provider. Maybe there's only 10 slots or something like that instead of having 120.
Well, that's like relayers too, right? Isn't like too many relayers is not a good thing.
Well, you don't play for that either. So the way relaying typically works is like a network will start, and then people put like one token in their wallet, and then they'll get a delegation for it, and then they'll never refill it. And then there's like a handful of people that will keep refilling it. So that one's also screwy.
The way we tackled the relaying is we distributed the points by the amount of messages that were relayed, not like, are you running one? It's like, how effective is it?
There was a big thing I say a big thing, it may not have been particularly big, but there was a thing on Twitter this week about some people wanting permissioned channels, or like trying to reduce the amount of relaying that's happening. And I was baffled by it, but these were all like in theory relatively sensible people talking about it, so there must be some sort of upside that I just couldn't understand.
Presumably, Schultzy, they were probably referring to like using the middleware and running through like a hub and spoke type structure instead of chains like IBCing to everyone, potentially. Like so at the moment, like, you know, Juno's got a channel to here and there and fucking everywhere, and the reason for that is because of the way IBC works, is that it creates a unique denom when you like create an IBC channel. So you know, like, I mean, it's kind of messy. Like you could have if you send it through the hub, for example, to another chain. So if it goes Juno, Cosmos, Akash, that final Juno would have a different denom than if it just went from Juno to Akash, because they're different channels. Like one goes through the hub and the other one goes directly from Juno to Akash. So you end up with this unique denom, and then like more escrow accounts all over the place on different chains. So presumably what that was referring to, I think Strangelove made middleware that makes it easier to, or maybe they made a module or something, isn't it, Schultzy, that makes it easier to actually send, say, a Juno from Juno chain through a hub to another chain. And then, I don't know, how does that work? Do you know, Schultzy?
I have no idea. I have not read anything about permissioned channel creation or anything like that.
Yeah, I might have been doing something completely different. Oh, here's Jake. Jake's here. Jake with the info.
Robert said something around government gated IBC channels and clients, which I kind of understand. Like that seems like it makes sense to me. It seems, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's not.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so it's completely different. So people aren't just like opening channels willy nilly.
Yeah, like because you can't back that out, right? It's basically there forever, even if it's closed.
Yeah, it's then
and then you have all these issues, right? Where like, and I may be wrong here, but like in theory, you could have two different flavors of Juno or Cache routed stuff because they've gone through different channels,
right?
And then if one of those stops being used, getting that back could be difficult.
Yeah, you can't unwind the clock, right?
Yeah, you
the
can't.
Channel's gone.
Yeah,
we can reopen the channel through governance, right?
You could, yeah. But if there's not enough, I guess there's not enough token or denom out there, then it like who actually does that? And
there are many examples of like $3 or $4 on a channel, and people were just like, let's just let it die.
Like fuck it, right?
Yeah.
It's not worth the time spent on rebooting it.
Right.
But
so the other thing is people, like the way it is now, people could actually just channel spam the shit out of the network. Like someone could just go and open channel after channel after channel, right, Schultzy? There's no like limit to
There's
the
no
amount of
permission to
channels
it.
you can make.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can just, and I'm sure that would absolutely fuck up the chain.
Well, and it would screw up a lot of the relayers because a lot of us, we basically just do a wild card. We're like, well, I'll support any channel between Osmosis and Juno. So that way it covers all ICA accounts. It'll cover all contracts. It'll cover anything. It'll just do it. Right.
Oh, really?
So
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
You could do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you do that and people start making more and more channels, then not only does that mean I'm going to be using more funds to keep them open because the way I run it is I make sure that all the channels that I'm running are constantly refreshed. They don't expire. Right. So I'm using more funds because they're creating more channels. And it's very common at the start of a chain when like Osmosis and let's say Nolus. I don't think Nolus actually did this. I just the first chance to pop in my head. There will be like 15 or 20 channels that open up in the first week or so because they're just trying to figure out like their channel. And it's very annoying.
So anybody can open a channel, right? So that's a transaction on chain. I assume there's a gas fee or something else associated to that. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. Yeah.
And then as a relayer, you're just wildcarding any channel that's open. You're relaying those packets.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
So the channel creation should be under governance. Is kind of the idea, right? Like that would make sense.
I mean, a certain amount of sense.
Permissioned?
Yeah, I don't know. It would kind of suck having to wait a week to open a channel, right? But I think that. Go ahead.
No, I was just thinking like it makes sense. Like on some chains, it seems like so. For example, Juno permissionless smart contract platform. Why should you have permissioned IBC on a permissionless chain? But then, I guess there's this funny thing of like where do you vote on these things? Because if everyone's got different, like I assume that the vote is on the one that on the outward bound, right? That you would go, oh, I would like to connect to this chain, and you don't get a choice about whether you receive that channel. But then you need a pair of them, and if you've got different voting lengths, you get in this period of you can get into a thing where, oh well, this is a 3-day vote and this is a 21-day vote. So it just feels like it's really messy.
So I guess one way you could do it would be to like just make them like the fee to open a channel pretty big. Like say you make it $1,000 to open a channel. You'd want to be pretty committed to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see why that wouldn't do it. Yeah.
Like right now.
Yeah. Like if you're opening a channel for your particular fucking use case, then pay for it.
Yeah. Like right now
can pay for whatever out of governance.
There's 5 separate channels open between Juno and Joe Chain. It seems unnecessary.
Yeah, that's a good example. Yeah,
that's a good example. And even testnets, like there's a lot of Juno to like SIFT-chain testnet or Uni 6 or Uni 3, and
why are there fucking channels to testnets? People probably trying to like, oh, I can fucking turn my Juno X out of here. And
that guy it was that you were trying to destroy on Uni 6. It's the one.
The auto compounder.
Yeah.
I got that fucker.
Yeah, I gave up there. I don't know who's like, no, that was Uni 5. And then we're like, oh, we're killing Uni 5. I'm like, fuck!
my beautiful distribution.
My ruined. Huge stack.
Like ruined.
Fuck.
So there's another berry when we're talking about things that are potential risks to the ecosystem.
There is a berry.
I've forgotten what berry it is. What flavor of berry we've got?
Dingle?
Berry?
It is barberry.
Dingle?
What is a barberry?
Barberry? What is a barberry?
Let's ask ChatGPT.
You got that.
What is a barberry? Oh yeah, I've got ChatGPT open. That's how I was trying to sound smarter.
Oh yeah, it is a
regulation.
It's a real thing.
A shrub or a small tree.
It's a shrubbery.
Belonging to the genus Barbarus. It's yellow flowers, great.
It's beautiful.
So what is the advisory?
I heard it was a high concern, right?
High concern, but it's non-consensus breaking, so we can just upgrade as soon as they come out. So that's good.
Okay, that's good.
I don't think there's anything else out at this point on what's going on.
Yeah, it doesn't have any specific information.
Not related
that's
to
sensible, right?
That kind of stuff. Yeah, that's
absolutely. Yeah.
Open source. Published.
Jacob
please.
with the helpful comments in the forum. What is Amulet? What is Amulet? Thanks. Fuck Jacob.
So we don't know what it is. I'm guessing a bunch of upgrades this week.
Yeah, it looks like anything with it's an SDK one, is it? It's not even like
it
a WASM related one.
Yeah. No, it's SDK related.
Why are they using the berry then? I thought the berry was for WASM. Anyway, it looks like so that's going to be an
Dragonberry wasn't.
That's right. Dragonberry wasn't. No, that was Tendermint.
Dragonberry wasn't.
No, well, there you go.
I mean, I say this as if I know shit about these things. I just see them happening and panic for a bit, and then and then people tell me upgrades have happened, and then I relax.
All I know is that every time there's a WASM mentions, berry mentioned somewhere, I just cringe a little bit and die inside. I could only imagine being a Pikachu or something where or even a fucking Lavender 5. You got a lot of networks going on, don't you, Schultzy?
40 or so, I think. Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah, that sounds like a pain day to me.
It's not fun.
Ansible.
Yeah, I say Ansible makes it pretty easy, but it's still really annoying. Like, it's only one command, right? So you have to enter upgrade name is 4.04 or whatever, and then emergency true, and you're done. But it's still annoying.
Emergency true is
emergency flag.
Is like
emergency flag.
Oh yeah, I've got emergency flag.
So what?
Sure.
So emergency flag, really? I'm assuming is that it does it as an in-place upgrade. Is that it?
Yeah, in-place upgrade, and then it does a restart. Yeah, and then it deletes the WASM cache.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that cache.
Mine's out.
So I think actually Stargaze, they just said that. So they had the V10 binary, which was a governance upgrade, but it included it had something. I think it was one of these patches, but that upgrade needed the WASM cache deletion. But they have since come out with 10.0.1, which has some sort of tweak to it where you do not need to delete the cache.
Yeah. So Jorge said that the cache that they upgraded CosmWasm, and I guess the upgraded version of CosmWasm for this fix changes the cache name somewhere in the cache directory. It goes from V4 to V5. So basically the old cache would still be there, but there's a new cache that gets created.
Okay. So the old cache is redundant and it goes into a new folder, and then it doesn't have a SIG7 fucking explosion.
That's right. There's a new quiche. It goes right in there. So,
I love it. I love it when someone uses what's a SIG7 thing? You're like,
a what?
Well, when you don't delete the WASM cache, you get a SIG7 fucking error.
Yeah, which is a real pain in the ass too, depending on when that's happening.
But no one knows what it is. I didn't know what it is when it first came out. What the fuck is this? Like, delete your WASM cache. I'm like,
quiche. All my system D's my system D service files are getting pretty lengthy now because I have so much shit shoved in there now. But one of the things we added, I think, just recently was on the exec pre-start, which is just to go back and delete those quiches, regardless of where they sit, because they across different chains they sit in different spots. But any restart on any service right now, the quiche gets deleted, which I think is probably just a safe bet. Like, who gives a shit? Just gets regenerated anytime the contract's called. So
don't need it, right?
Fuck it. Yeah.
Fuck them. So I mean, those system D files, man. There's so much stuff in system D that no one knows about or uses. Like that stuff that Crow's Nest came out with the other day with where you can pass the variable after the @ sign.
It's a system D template, right?
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Idea.
It is.
I had no idea about that.
Yeah,
I mean, we use the journal D at Usurper for the log thing,
right?
For that little log hack.
Yeah.
So I guess we were already using it in some fashion, but I mean, we weren't pulling a variable from it and using it in the system D itself. We were just using it as a template against journal D, I guess.
Right. Yeah. So the system D template allows you to basically start multiple services through one system D file with basically an arg is really what it is, like a param, right? Which is pretty cool, actually. I kind of dig it. I also I don't know. I kind of like having that, knowing that it's just tied to the binary name, and some simplicity to it, I guess. I don't know.
I agree. I enjoy. I think it's neat. I enjoyed seeing it.
Yeah,
but I was immediately like, no.
Not for me.
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
Yeah. Right, because
I think for his particular use case, it is like for what he uses it for. Yeah,
for sure.
It seems handy. But I was also like, do I need that in my stack? No.
Yeah, and honestly, there's 20 different ways to cut this cat, right? So whatever works for each of us, I think is good, as long as it gets it done.